Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Making payments for deferred tax reported by third-party payers. COVID tax tip 2021-99, July 12, 2021. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, the CARES Act, allowed employers to defer the deposit and payment of the employer's share of Social Security taxes, and self-employed individuals to defer payment of certain self-employment taxes. So basically the idea here was, as part of the benefit program or to help out in the economy, was to have rules related to employment taxes. So you're talking about employees, the taxes related to them, the payroll tax generally being the Social Security and Medicare taxes, and the deferral payments related to them during this time. Note that oftentimes when the government puts in some type of law related to payroll taxes, like Social Security and Medicare, then it's often an afterthought that they got to say, well, wait a sec, what about the self-employed individuals? Because even if they don't have any employees, they're still paying Social Security and Medicare on basically their own net income on the bottom line of like a Schedule C. And therefore, you would think that they should get some kind of benefit as well, since you're basically treating them kind of as their own employee, paying both the employer and employee portion of the Social Security and Medicare. So they often then have to go back and make an adjustment for the self-employed individuals, which can be kind of confusing, but that's where we are at this point in time. So we have these deferred kind of tax payments. Once you have the deferral happening, then of course at some point in time, when you have to pay the IRS and when's it going to come due and how does that process work? So here are some important dates for people to know. The deferral applies to those taxes for the period March 27th, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Employers must pay 50% of the amount eligible to be deferred by December 31st, 2021, and the remaining deferred tax by December 31st, 2022. If any portion of the employer's share of Social Security tax is not deposited or paid by the applicable date, penalties and interest will apply. There are special considerations in repaying the deferred taxes when an employer uses a third-party payer. There's a link to that here, that files aggregate forms 941 and 943 under its own EIN. This includes a non-certified professional employer organization and a third-party payer designated as an agent by the employer submitting Form 2678. Third-party payers that reported their clients' deferred deposit and payment of the employer's share of Social Security taxes must have attached a Schedule R to their aggregate returns in 2020. They must list all clients who are deferring deposits of the employer's share of Social Security tax on the Schedule R. How to make payments for deferred tax reported by third-party payer aggregate filers. Employers should coordinate with their third-party payer to pay deferred taxes owed by December 31st, 2021 and December 31st, 2022 due dates. If an employer used the services of a third-party payer to report the deferred deposit and payment of any portion of its share of Social Security taxes during the payroll tax deferral period, the employer is solely liable for the payment of the deferred taxes. Whenever possible, the employer should provide the deferral tax amount to the third-party payer that reported the deferred taxes so that the third-party payer can pay the deferred taxes to the IRS by the applicable due date. Coordinating with the third-party payer helps ensure that deferred tax amount is appropriately applied to the outstanding liability. It also helps ensure that the third-party payer can respond to inquiries from the IRS regarding any outstanding liabilities remaining after the due dates. The employer should continue coordinated with their third-party payer and ensure payments are applied under the correct EIN unless they receive an IRS notice showing an unpaid deferred amount under their EIN. The employer should then follow instructions in the notice for making their deferred payments.